video we're going to talk about the battery box on a 1977 MGB. Here you can see I've put the battery into the box. It's not a really big battery, so you get plenty of room in that box. Also, there's this wall right here is slanted, so you have plenty of room inside there. The first thing that we did on the battery was pulled out the ground strap. Now the ground strap's kind of a critical component because it's really how all of the electronics communicates back to the battery. And so this ground strap was pretty badly worn. There's only a couple of the strands that are still connected to it. So we're going to replace that straight away. But instead of just replacing the ground strap and moving forward with it, I decided that we're going to also install a battery kill switch. All right, so this little battery kill switch, basically what it is you take the ground from the battery and you plug it in one side, and then you take from the other side and you put it to where the ground strap would have gone. And basically what that does is it kills the ground, so the battery is not connected anymore, right? So we're going to install this into the wall right here at the back of the car, and I'm going to set it up so that when it's off, it's in this position, and when it's vertical, then it's on and it's running. And there's plenty of room. This looks like a big unruly contraption here, but you got to figure every single amp of the battery is possible for it to go through that switch. So that's a pretty hefty switch in there. Anyway, so all we need to do is drill a hole this big into this sidewall here, but also we need to plan it so that the posts are not too far below the battery. We want them to be just slightly above the battery so that all of the cables and wires don't have to traverse over the top of the battery. They can just stay, they don't have to go down, they can just stay at the top. So that's kind of the plan. So let's go ahead and get started on this. All right, first thing we're going to do is we're going to pull the battery out. You don't want to work around the battery, take a chance that you lay two tools across the active posts and then spark everything, and everything goes to hell in a handbasket. So what I'm going to do here is I got the battery in place because I want to know where the battery is going to be height-wise. And so I'm going to take a piece of chalk and I'm going to mark these physical constraints all the way around. You know how chalk works, it always breaks. So that I know where the top of the battery will be in respect once I pull it out. All right, let's pull this thing out of here. All right, so here you can see I've transposed that chalk line all the way around to the front where I'm going to drill my holes. What I'd like to do is have these two nuts just above that line so that we have the room to run the wires above it. What you'll notice on here is there's a couple of ribs in the metal here. These are strengthening ribs. There's one right here and there's one right here. So I'm going to need to put that hole needs to be kind of in this direction over here. So I don't want to put it on the rib, so I have to move it over just a little bit. So it looks like we'll be drilling our hole right there. Maybe just a little up from that. And that's where we're going to have that. So I'm going to go ahead and drill that hole. We'll see if we can get the drill into the battery box. I don't want to go in from the other side because I won't be able to see the line. Obviously, I don't want to have to clean up the metal shavings. When I drill the hole here from inside the battery box, I can just let the metal shavings fall to the ground. So it's a little easier for cleanup. All right, I'm going to go ahead and drill that hole. We'll see what we can make out of this. All right, so one of the things that are going to seem kind of obvious. This is kind of a large size hole, not your typical hole that you can find a drill bit for. But over the years, I've collected a number of these hole cutting saws, and this is the right size saw for that. So this saw it'll be just fine. Now, when you drill the hole, you want the hole to be the size of the threads, and you want this flat shank, this shoulder right here, to butt up against the metal when you have the hole. You don't want to make the hole big enough to slide this whole thing through, because then what's going to happen is when you put the nut on it, it's going to wiggle, right? You need to have it clamp into that on the shoulder so that the metal is clamped tightly against that right there. So what you're probably thinking is, well, how are you going to get a hole cutting saw to cut a hole without, you know, bouncing around and get a good accurate hole? So I'm going to show you a quick little trick on that. Basically, all you're going to do is take a small piece of wood and drill a hole through it, and then take that piece of wood and clamp it onto the metal piece, and then that wood will become the guide for this hole cutting saw to cut through the metal. So I'm going to go ahead and set up that jig, and then we'll cut it out and I'll show you how it looks. Alright, so there you go. See, I took a small piece of wood and I've drilled a pilot hole through it. That will become the guide for that little hole saw. And you can see there's my chalk marks. That'll put those nuts just above that line. It'll give me plenty of room for the connections, plenty of room to work the nuts and bolts and everything. And this is going to fit just fine. I'm going to drill it in from this side. All the waste will fall to the floor or to the ground. Kind of a two-hand job, so I won't be able to actually catch that, I don't think, on video. Well, I don't think I can get a good camera angle on it, because it goes back into the battery box there. Even if I got it from above, you wouldn't see it. But I'll see if I can catch some of it and without breaking my wrist. It's kind of a two-hand job. All right, so let's get it going. All right, so there's a preliminary fitting. You can see it fits right in there, no problem. Doesn't touch the battery or anything. I think maybe looking back on it, I probably could have moved it up a ½ inch instead of being so close to the line. If I moved it up a ½ inch, I would have had maybe just a little bit more room for those nuts. There's still plenty of room to work on as far as getting wrenches on there. But you can see, even with all that room in there, it doesn't intrude on the battery space. So let's get into putting the wires on. And the first thing that you need to consider on this is the ground strap. The ground strap connects to the frame, or actually in this case, the side of the battery box. And you can see I've already taken and cleaned this up really good to get any kind of rust or paint or anything at all on it. We want that ground strap to touch good clean metal on that. I'm going to put a little dielectric grease on that, and then we're going to connect that ground strap to the first post, and then we'll connect the second post to the negative terminal on the battery. Let's get started on that. Alright, so the next thing that we're going to want to do here is we're going to want to determine which way we want the switch oriented, so that we can look at it with a glance and know whether it's on or not. Or even without a glance, you can reach back from the driver's seat and touch it and know without looking at it that it is on. So right now it's on. See, I've got the ohmmeter on and it's on. And the switch goes this direction to be off. But if you see, it's the same direction this way versus that way. What I'd much rather see is vertical, completely vertical when it's on, and then a different angle when it's off. So you can reach back and feel, oh, it's not vertical. You don't have to know, am I looking at it left or right, or what angle is it? Just vertical or not. Vertical is on. Anything else is off. So we're going to want to tighten this bolt in this position so we know that's on. All right, let's get that done. All right, so there you have it. You have the ground strap going to one post, and then the other post going to the negative terminal. Now I'm just setting this in here. It's eventually going to go something like that, because I want it to sit nice and flat, and I want to make it easy to get to that nut. You can see on this side, I've installed this so that I can feel and know this is off and that's on. So I don't have to look at it. I can just reach back and feel it. Or even if I glance at it, I'll know that's off, that's on. I'm not going to connect the positive and show you how it works because the positive terminal needs some work. That's a whole nother thing. So anyway, that's all I got for you today. This is installing a battery cutoff switch in a 1977 MGB Roadster. Cheers.